Hi, it's Dr. Morazi with Minutes for Moms here to give you more practical pediatric advice. This is going to be one of our videos about potty training. From a potty training standpoint, it's difficult. It's really difficult. It's frustrating because you've got a stubborn toddler, a stubborn 2 to 3-year-old who has their own opinions. So you're trying to teach them how to stop their playing and actually go sit down and go on the potty. So it can be trying, but hopefully this video is going to give you kind of some practical tips to get your toddler wanting to use the bathroom. One thing that I'll have people do is, I'm not a big fan of, hey, let's go sit on the potty 15 times during the day, because after the first day, it's exhausting. Because what happens is you're going to be in the middle of doing whatever and they're going to want to go sit on the potty. Well, you have to take their clothes off, their diaper off, or they're going to do it. They're going to stop you, and then you have to put their diaper back on. So I'm not a big fan of telling you to do that during the day. But one thing that you can do to get your toddler used to using the bathroom is you're going to, before bath time, let's go sit on the potty. You're getting the toddler undressed, so what's it to them if you then kind of bribe them or convince them to also sit on the potty before we go get in the bathtub? So kind of what I usually would do is I'd have a basket of, these are the fun toys. The basket this is we sat on the potty. This is going to be your basket of toys that if we don't sit on the potty, well, you still have a basket of toys to play with in the bathtub, but they're not as fun. So that's one of your, I don't care if they sit on there for 2 seconds, you still are getting them used to physically sitting on that potty. So that's what you're going to do to kind of get them used to that part. Kind of the next thing that you're going to watch for is how long they go with having a dry diaper. For the most part, when they don't have any bladder or sphincter control, they pee every 15 to 20 minutes. So that means that the bladder fills up a little bit, they go. Fills up a little bit, they go. So they aren't doing anything with kind of keeping that sphincter tight so that bladder fills up more. So when you start to notice that your toddler is starting to go longer periods of time of having a dry diaper, meaning like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, or they're waking up dry from a nap, that tells you that their bladder is starting to fill up and they are instinctively kind of keeping that sphincter closed or tight and filling up that bladder. So that's when you know that you get to run with that a little bit. So if your toddler goes about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours with having a completely dry diaper, that's when you're going to put the timer on. And what you do is that, so say they go an hour and a half, put the timer on for an hour and 15 minutes, timer's gone off. Let's go sit on the potty. They're already used to sitting on the potty. Let's go sit on the potty. We do that. They push. And if they push hard enough, what happens is they actually get that urine out, because that pressure here from that bladder and that pressure from the abdomen is also kind of getting that sphincter kind of to open up. So that's kind of how you do that. And usually what I'll tell people, set your goal to have a dry morning. So you're going to make a big deal out of it. So you're going to say, we're going to sit on the potty, and when you're done sitting on the potty, you're going to give them a treat. Some people will say it's not good to use food as an incentive or a treat, but those of you that have very hyperactive boys like I did, there wasn't much to kind of get them to tick. So food was what we did. So what I did is I did a mini M&M. Sometimes we do a mini marshmallow. So that's a teeny tiny itty bitty reward that they're doing, that I sat on the potty, I peed, and I'm going to get that reward. The other thing that you're going to do is, if you set your goal to have a dry morning and you're going to make a big deal out of, we had a dry morning, and if you have a dry morning, you know what you get to do? You get to bring your baby doll to lunch, or you get to bring your dinosaur, or whatever their favorite stuffed animal, or you're going to say, we're going to play the music loud during lunchtime, and that's kind of how you get them to have more of a desire to do this. And that bribery, kind of that little carrot to dangle in front of the nose, is really the most important thing. And then you go from we need to have a dry morning to we need to have a dry day. And it typically works. And so say the toddler doesn't want to sit on the potty. Well, take a week off, take 2 weeks off. The more you push, the more that they're going to push back. So you need to kind of get them to kind of meet in the middle. And that's really where that positive reward, or that bribe, or that little carrot, that's how you're going to get that part to work. Now, from a stooling standpoint, from a pooping standpoint, now this is tricky. because where there's a will, there's a way. And if there's no will, there's no way. So if they have no desire to poop on the potty, the more you push, they're just going to hold it in. And what'll happen is if I don't poop today and then I try to go tomorrow and it hurts, I'm going to hold it in all that much more. So I'm going to go 5 to 7 days without pooping. And then when I go, I'm just going to poop a little bit. So what's really, really important is that you're going to try to convince them from a pooping standpoint. Now, if they have no desire to poop on that potty, like I said, you're not going to push that. But there is something called a gastrocolic reflex. And what that means is when I eat something, within 20 to 30 minutes of a meal, most of us have a bowel movement. And that's because when you eat something, your colon is starting to make room for what you just ate. And that's the reason why you have that bowel movement. So you got a breakfast, lunch, or dinner pooper. That's when you're going to, if they're a breakfast pooper, you're going to say, after breakfast time, you're going to say, let's go try to sit on the potty. And if they have nothing to do that, you're not going to do anything for that. You're just going to talk about that because you know that they're breakfast poopers. Now, the other thing that, the other trick that I ended up learning really with my first child, because he was really, really hard to potty train, is he would pee on the potty, but he would completely refuse to poop on the potty. So I couldn't convince him that this was a good idea. So what we did is we still wore our big boy pants, but he knew that he was not allowed to poop in his big boy pants because then they were dirty and we had to throw them away, and that was not a good thing. So that was really, really upsetting to him. So we couldn't poop in our big boy pants. So I had pull-ups in a basket in our bathroom, and when he had to go poop, he'd go walk in the bathroom, you'd take your clothes off, put the pooping pants back on, he'd go poop behind the couch, and then you change him. And as I would change him, I'd say, "Ooh, this is stinky. We need to get this poop in the potty." And you then will pour it in that potty, obviously, and you flush it. So he's going to kind of get used to that, and it's not as much of a novel idea. The other thing that you're going to do is when you hear them going into that bathroom to put their pooping pants on, you're going to say, "You sure you don't want to go sit on the potty?" Half the time, or majority of the time, they're going to scream no. But I promise you, eventually they'll be willing to do that. Sometimes it's 4 to 6 months later, so 4 to 6 months after them peeing on the potty, but eventually they will poop on the potty. I promise you that. So those are kind of really my little tricks to the trade when it comes to potty training, both number 1 and number 2, and kind of getting that more on your schedule instead of their schedule. Easier said than done, but it is definitely worth the patience and to kind of work with them. Now, when it comes to age, girls are younger when they're potty training, boys are older typically. So I usually tell people girls are between 2, 2.5, sometimes later. Boys are closer to 3, so 2.5 to 3.5, with kind of average right around that 3-year-old mark. So those are kind of really my practical tips, and hopefully that kind of gave you some nice guidance. So once again, I'm Dr. Morazy with Minutes for Moms, giving you that practical pediatric advice as if you were sitting here in my office. Listen to the guidance that I can give from a pediatric standpoint. If this is your first time coming to my channel, please give me a like, and definitely subscribe if you want to be given more updated videos as they come out. So once again, now you know what I know. Until next time, bye.